Okay, I'm just going to pull up a few shots now just to go through aperture, the different sort of levels of it, and also depth of field. This shot here is quite good to show depth of field. Now with depth of field, the way I kind of think about it is, where do you want the point of focus in your picture to be? If you want it to be all over the picture, then you'd say use a high aperture, something like f32. If you wanted a specific part of the picture to be in focus and the rest of it to be sort of slightly blurred, you'd use an aperture of, say, f4.2, f5. To explain this, you see how the background in this image, the cloud, is out of focus. With this, when I was taking the shot, I thought, where do I want the focus to be? Now I didn't want the background to over dominate the shot, so what I did is I set it to a very low aperture, like f4, f5, something like that. That way, pushed all of this out of focus, put the attention on the model. If I had gone f32, this would have been in focus and it would have dominated the shot. You'd have had these sort of bars of cloud going through the model. It wouldn't have worked as well. So let me jump to another shot. See here, see the background's completely out of focus. Well, completely, very out of focus, and the helmet's the focal point in the shot. This would have been shot on an aperture of, say, f4, f5, same thing again. If I wanted that in focus, put the aperture up to f32. Same thing here, I wanted this out of focus and the lady to be in focus. My reasoning for this was this bar would have been more dominant had we been working at sort of f32. Let's jump to another shot. Here we go. People out of focus, piano in focus, aperture f4, f5. That's what will do that for you with the depth of field. This is the opposite end. This shot would have been shot on something like f32. That way you can see this house and this barn is in focus and right up through the picture. So it really depends what you want in focus. This is what a byproduct of the aperture is. Obviously you use the aperture to let in a lot of light or let in less light, but you also use it to put focus in the picture. This little dog here, we wanted the background out focus and its face in focus, aperture f4. Okay, this shot here was a case where, grabbing the camera and running out. Now I needed to put the background out of focus, that's what I wanted, so I'd have flicked it to aperture priority, that A symbol on the dial. That way the camera's going to work out the shutter speed for me when I set it to aperture, f4, f5. That way all this is out of focus and this scrawny little city fox is sort of the center of focus. But byproduct of that is it was very low light, and you can see that it's slightly out of focus at the point where I'm actually focusing at. That's because of the shutter speed being too slow to be handheld. Let's give you, see, this is another example, close up of the head. The background is very out of focus, that's how I wanted it. I wanted his face, the center of attention, but it's on aperture priority and the camera is setting the shutter speed too slow for me to hand hold it. If I'd had a tripod, that would have been fine. Here we go. This breaks it down. Now this would have been shutter speed would have been set automatically by the camera. The aperture I set myself, hence all that being blurred in the background. The shutter speed you can see is quite slow because of the movement we've got in his foot here, but point of focus is the fox. Kind of works as a shot because you've got that movement, you get an idea of what the fox is doing, and all the attention is on him. Had I set it to sort of f32, you'd have all this grass, that bit coming out of his nose more obviously. Okay, hopefully with those shots you've been able to get an idea of depth of field. Now if we're working at f22, things that are in the background of the shot are going to be in focus, whereas if we change it right down to f4.0, we're going to get stuff out of focus in the background. That's why I use aperture priority. I use it a lot if I'm doing portrait pictures outside. Say you've got a busy background, there's lampposts sticking up and you don't want those sticking out of people's heads. I usually work on this f4.0 or as low as I can get away with in the light. That way it's going to put all the attention on the person in the photo. Now that is aperture priority.
So hopefully you found that interesting, and feel free to log on to www.worldphotographicClub.com to get more information, and there's also a chat room and forum where you can ask any questions. Okay, thanks a lot.